Welcome to the lovely Lake Como, Bellagio, Italy. I'm joined here by some esteemed colleagues of the Italian travel and tourism industry to talk this morning about tourism overcrowding or community-conscious tourism. My name is Andrew Brown, Regional Director at the World Travel and Tourism Council. I'm joined on my left by Andrea Grisdale. Andrea, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Hi, buongiorno, everyone. My name is Andrea Grisdale. I'm CEO and sole founder of IC Bellagio, a DMC that I founded almost 25 years ago. We create personalized travel experiences throughout Italy. Personally, I think I've got the best job in the world. I get to eat, drink, live and breathe Italy each and every day.
Vanes?
Hello, ciao, buongiorno. I'm Vanes Lillo. I'm the CEO of Orly, an international chauffeur company. We provide transportation to all tourism in the world. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanes. Silvio?
Hi, Andrew. Hi, everyone. I'm Silvio Torello. I'm the General Manager of Grand Hotel Trimezzo and Passo l'Acqua, so two amazing properties on Lake Como. I'm so happy and proud to do this job because I have the possibility to be surrounded by amazing people and welcoming one of the best corners of the world and people from all over the world.
Last but not least, Giulia.
Thank you so much. My name is Giulia Bandini. I'm the CEO and founder of Cogito Strategies, which is a small company, actually can be considered a newco. And we do consultancy for hospitality, food and beverage and events. We are young, passionate, and we are very proud to be in this industry because we believe in the industry and we think it can grow very, very much through our help and through the help of everyone. So thank you for inviting me.
Fantastic. And as I said, it's great to be joined here this morning here in the lovely Lake Como. Let's just first start with a bit of context. In 2019, the Italian travel and tourism sector contributed $200 billion into the economy. It was over 10% of the economy. Due to COVID, that reduced by almost 40% in 2020. Now, by the end of 2023, WTTC, we predict it's going to be back to that $200 billion level again. But what that's creating, and what we're seeing here in Bellagio especially, is the fact that the issue of overcrowding is once again showing its face. It's not just happening here, but it's also happening around the world in various tourism hotspots that we all love to enjoy. Before we get into this discussion this morning, I'd like to ask you, Giulia, to start off with, how do we resolve this? And can you bring your context and expertise into us, both in terms of how overcrowding is affecting first the community here in Bellagio or in Italy, that you may call home, but I think that's more Bologna, but also how does that influence the visitor experience?
Well, thank you for the question, Andrew. The overcrowding, it's something that it's popping up in the last years. And it has always been, Italy has always been one of the best destinations to go. So we don't have to blame anyone for this. It's a kind of a natural phenomenon, I think. I've lived in many cities in Italy, Florence, Venice, Milan, and there are a lot of different ways of where tourists move in the different cities. So I think there could be a way to get better this condition through public sector and private sector, and what we help doing is bringing to hoteliers different solutions in order that they can split the amount of tourists that that come in the destination into different seasons, so all year long. We're helping hotelier in building up their business plans in order to keep the hotels open 12 months and to do good sales and marketing campaigns to have tourists all year long. So I think that through very good marketing, through institutions and through laws, this in different cities can be better, and also can be done a lot from private sector and public sector.
Thanks, Giulia. Silvio, similar question to yourself in terms of How is overcrowding? First of all, are you seeing it in your hotels? And how do you see that affecting both your guest experience and the local community?
Was actually we realized and during actually the pandemic that a lot of our guests was actually a lot of tourists all around the world. It was really appreciate to stay in like little villages and maybe not a city, and that's why we have really a big pressure now, like on Lake Como or in all the other like villages, like the Cinque Terre in Liguria or in Portofino or Capri, because they're little and people they can stay outside. They really love to live outside. When I think that the only thing we can do is start to promote and communicate to all of our clients that there are a lot of things to do even when it's not the super peak season. Of course, it's super nice to stay under the sun, but we were talking even earlier, we said that Italy, it's also about art and food and La Dolce Vita, and it's something that they can experience 12 months, and every day it's different. Every day they have a different flavor, a different color, all over Italy. That's what we need to communicate to all of our partners and clients. So, and I think it's really fundamental in this time of our sector that we live in an age of prosperity right now. So 22 was amazing. 2023 was actually, we will need to see the numbers at the end of the season of the year, but we really think that will be super, and 2024 has a very good forecast. We need again to communicate that they have to live all year around Italy, not only like between April and October. Also because in some little villages and it's become really difficult to visit like museum. And imagine to reserve the Cenacolo Vinciano in Milan in July. It's crazy. If you do it in December, it's better. You have a better possibility because you can choose the time you like, and people, they really care about you because you are their client in that moment. Like in a month when everything will be super crowded, I don't want to say that you are not the client, but maybe there is the possibility that you are one of they. So even the care is a little bit different.
Thanks, Silvia. And you mentioned there the authenticity and the cultural experience of Italy. That's why we're here today, and we're accompanied here on the table with some lovely local wine, which is delicious, and some fresh, very fresh tomatoes, Andrea. From a DMC perspective, how are you seeing overcrowding in terms of your guest experience, but also enriching the community and making sure that flavour can be experienced through?
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, we definitely have seen that obviously during the pandemic, we went from one crisis management to another, in all honesty. Personally, I like to see crisis or, overcrowding in this situation and consider it to be an opportunity. So, one great opportunity of the pandemic was give companies like my own an opportunity to sit down with colleagues, with our supply partners from across the country, with the hoteliers, and also with colleagues from across the world, and say, guys, we know it's going to take off when we get through this. What can we do? What can we do better than what we did before? Here in Italy, we are so fortunate that we have 20 different regions, and every region has its own specialities, its own dialects, different ways of doing things, different stories to tell. And so why do we have to only sell certain places? We all know what the old favorites are, the Rome, Venice and Florence, but Italy is about so much more. And, people don't fly across the world to find what they have back home. And Italy has so much to offer. And what they are coming is for those conversations that Silvio mentioned earlier. You mentioned the local wine, which is actually made here in the Bellagio area. People want to spend time with the winemaker. They want to hear his story. They want to laugh with him. They want to have that time and the opportunity to feel like they're part of the community. If they do travel today in the high season months, perhaps that time is going to be limited. If someone chooses to travel in what we call the slow season, then they're going to get a much more authentic experience. And as a DMC, this is something that we are studying constantly. How can we continue to give people that authentic experience, that Italian lifestyle experience of exactly what they're looking for, and of course make it positive for the locals. One thing I also wanted to mention, Andrew, actually a phrase I heard just last week when I was in Fogo Island. One lady from the island said, if we are only 2,500 people on this island, we have to think about how many people can we love. And it really, because at the end of the day, hospitality is all about loving a stranger. So how can we love these people, and how many people can we actually take on board at the same time and give them that experience that we want to give them?
No, I mean, I agree. It's that service, that experience that we're all after when we come to Italy or any place around the world where tourism thrives. Vanessa, what's your perspective of overcrowding? Are you experiencing it in your business right now?
We definitely do, yes. It's an ongoing issue in the past couple of years after the pandemic. I have to say that we, as being in the transportation industry, we get the last leg of the journey of the itinerary of the tourists. So we actually experience probably the difficult part of making them join around, going from one place to another. And the thing about Italy is that it's a beautiful country because also it's a geographical structure. So we have lakes, we have mountains, we have the sea, but it's in a tight space. Some villages or some towns like Lake Como is beautiful, just like behind us, but they're difficult to get in, So when we pack, if you pass me the term, a lot of people, we don't provide a good service to the tourism and to the locals. So we definitely need a new strategy to diversify, the income in tourism. And to be honest, I would like to stir up the conversation by stimulating sort of like a self-criticism amongst ourselves, because we always say, we have to do, they have to do, but do we actually look into our own selves and realize what we're asking, or what we're offering, what we're saying, our language, and I mean, sometimes we really have to educate the clients. We have to advise the clients, and by doing that, we have to advise and educate ourselves. So, just like Andrew was saying, I don't like to call us, let's say, agents, but more like advisors. But we have to stop a minute, maybe, that's my personal take, and just take a different strategy. Let's learn, let's go back to basic, and let's pull all our ideas together so we can better sell the brand and Italy in a different and more sustainable way.
So thank you all for that response. And where that comes to, I guess, and Silvio, starting with yourself, is surely when the crowds are back and you're saying business is up, that just means more revenue. So wouldn't you just want more of that so your hotel can be full?
Well, actually, I think that it was super advantage when he says that we need to re-educate ourselves. It's true it can be more revenue, but we need to think about a different revenue. It's the point for the next year and the next season. Of course, in June, July, and August, when you have a lot of requests, you can sell and you can do almost whatever you like, and of course you can grow in revenue, and that's super good. But what about in October, November, December, even because from another perspective, and that we learned during the pandemic, and we work with people, and Andrea has an amazing hashtag that is all about people, and I really tried this kind of hashtag, and we realized that people, they really want to stay with this, working with the same people. So I take an example of our properties. We have approximately 350 employees split into hotel. And pre-pandemic, we only have a kind of like 5% that was hiring, even if the hotel are seasonal all year round. Now we have more than the 10% because we want to keep our guys with us. I need the hotel open to do that. So that's why we need to think also about a different kind of revenue. So think about what I can do when is November, when is December. So in order to have even all the community and alive all around the hotel. So it's good talking about revenue, and because they give us the opportunity then to have always a very fresh products. So it's crucial, but I really think that re-educate ourselves, we really need to figure out how to do a different revenue. So even with a little bit of marginality, but there's something super good on the more slow season. Like imagine January in Florence or on Lake Como, when here you don't have the queue visiting, and some of the museum you don't queuing during the festival, but at the same time you keep all the little restaurant and activities alive.
So you're saying that yes, the revenue during the peak season is great, but how do we smooth that peak? Very much so.
Yeah. More revenue doesn't mean more quality, more often than not. And I strongly believe that, in order to achieve revenue and quality at the same time, one good way would be all of us together, as suppliers, get together and exchange ideas to better interact with each other. Because when season hits, we're all self-involved in trying to manage, what we need to do. And sometimes we lose focus in what needs to be done correctly, in a more profitable way. Because sometimes, when you have a lot of people, it doesn't mean that you make more revenue. Probably sometimes, with lesser people, you create more revenue because you can provide better quality, better strategy, and that's something that I feel like being the last leg of the itinerary of the journey, we're missing. The internal communication. Although, like with Andrea, for example, and her team, at the end of the season, let's say, we always get together and we analyze the season, which is what we should do all year round with them, with the hotels, on a national level. And, I have to say that the government should help us doing that, because in the end, we help locals, we help the government. It's a major income for the country. So,
and I think just drawing back to the quality of service there and making sure that your guests can have that authentic experience. Andrea, you've done something in your company last couple of seasons around ensuring that. Would you like to elaborate a bit further?
Yeah, for the very first time in history, Andrew, last year, we actually went on stop sale. We realized...
What does that mean?
So we basically realized during the month of April last year, it was actually earlier this year, 1 month earlier, that when we were looking at the months of May, June and September, we were creating itineraries for our guests around availability and not on what was right for the guest. Mm-hmm. And we made a very, what some called courageous choice. I would say it was the correct choice, to say we are not taking any more new bookings for that time period, quite simply because we want to ensure that the client gets the best possible experience. I cannot send one of our clients to the Colosseum at 2:00 in the afternoon in June. It's just not what you do. It's not what we do. And so I would prefer to say no and explain why I'm saying no, but also offer alternatives. We've been speaking about the autumn months, the winter months. None of our clients ever come here for a suntan. So why do they have to come in the summer? We do understand and appreciate that some people, they don't have the opportunity of when they can travel. They don't have that choice. But for those who do, what we are doing is we are educating them and also travel advisors and the travel advisor community on the opportunities of slow season travel, is what we've chosen to call it, and what that means. And just giving, examples. Yesterday I was talking to Luca, our head guide in Venice, and he said, they take his grandmother to the Venice Lido during the high season months. You're not going to, and you'll never see these older people walking through Venice because it's just too busy for them. Whereas in the winter, she goes to the fish market every single day and she just loves to be there and try to say, hello or, whatever language to the people that she meets. He also mentioned about the artisans. In the high season, you go to an artisan and it's a visit. You go there during the slow season, you get to know the artisan, they become a friend. Mm. It's a completely different experience, but we have to, it's our job, I believe, to educate the travel advisor community and our travelers.
And that comes from experience. You mentioned the Colosseum. I had a very similar experience last year in Egypt with my tour guide at Abu Simbel,
Yeah.
where he sort of said, just wait here 10 minutes, all the crowds will dissipate. 10 minutes later, we had the whole thing to ourselves. But Julia, just shifting tack slightly and still on the understanding the issue of overcrowding, where do you think these issues stem from? Is it the poor consideration from, let's say, the visitor, the guest, or is it a public-private sector collaboration that's required? What's your view on this?
Well, both of them, I think. Since we work between privates and then we work also a lot with the public sector, I think that there's not one solution. There are a lot of solutions, and they have to be applied all together in order to make the situation go in the right direction. I try to explain myself better. What we can do on our side, starting from what Vanessa said, that we have to, start from ourselves. It's the right thing. We can try and experiment different solutions with hotels, with locals, with all the community, in order to create the best connections between ourselves, in order to keep the season the entire year long. On the other side, if we do this, the public sector has strongly to help us in order to keep all our people all year long, to cope with the issue that Silvio was mentioning, which is an issue that we all have. And we have to give easier laws to entrepreneurs. It's too difficult in Italy to understand where we have to go, what we have to do. And this is something that doesn't incentive young people to open enterprises in Italy, to create enterprises that work for the tourism sector.
When you say it's too difficult, do you mean to set up a business?
To set up a business, to keep your people with you.
Yep, okay.
To give a right salary, to make them happy all year long without stressing them, to give them a quality of life. This thing is too difficult and is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So since it's all about people, as Andrea says, we have to try to cope with each other in the local community, give a sustainable power to the locals, help them in working in the right direction, and also keep our people together for the entire year. We try to do it with different hotels. At the end, it's numbers that count. So you were talking about revenue, more revenue, less revenue. In the end, if you do a great job with your sales and marketing team, and I stress on this point, which is very important, the message that you give, the words that you use, as Vanessa said, are very important. If you do a great job with that, if you have a strong business plan and you cooperate with the locals, restaurants, opens, transfers, transportations, everything around you comes with you, then your hotel can be open, your people can stay with you. The laws have to be easier and have to help you. The public sector has to be on your side, not against you. And so if we are able, I know it will take some time, but if we are able to share our experiences and go in that direction, I think this can be a very good solution for us and it can work.
Nice. Thanks, Julia, there. And that does move us on to the conversation focused on potential solutions of tourism overcrowding. And this focus on what we at WTTC are referring to as community-conscious tourism. You referenced low season travel, but community-conscious tourism, where travel is encouraged outside of that high season. And this is to alleviate pressures on locals, the local communities, and making sure that tourism is at the heart of the social impact that we know it can play. Vanessa, what do you think is needed to ensure a more socially responsible traveller so that they can be aware that the out-season travel and the undiscovered season travel is a possibility?
Yeah. Like I said before, educate ourselves, meaning we should, or at least that's what we try to do every year. We try to analyze the data during the season to see what the trends are, okay? the kind of the target of the clients, the age group, the interests. So maybe we can spread around all over Italy, because what's interesting to me is that all season long, we take people to all different wineries, okay? None of them asked us to take them to a harvesting day to harvest grapes, olive oil. It's the most beautiful season of the year, in my own opinion, in the autumn or the fall, when you can have a beautiful dinner, candlelight dinner between the vines, it's just gorgeous. But we just take them during, high season just to drink the wine, not to experience the grape, to learn about the soil. So that's just a quick example. But I'm a strong believer that we got to get out of our comfort zone, because in the end, we tend always to sell what sells. The usual trips, ourselves, we have to get out of that idea and start, pitching different areas or extend the areas, and even to be more sustainable. We don't all have to stay in one city. I'm not going to mention any city names, but you can stay in the city next to it that it's less crowded, maybe even slightly cheaper, but you can take day trips back and forth. It's very convenient. You save money, and it's also more sustainable because, less crowded. So yeah, in a way, we gotta focus ourselves in different directions. The other strategy that we can apply our industry is what I call dynamic pricing, which is not a way, because a lot of people, they say, you're just doing it because you want more money. We're just trying to put a detriment in the income in particular time of the year. So by rising the prices, I should say, we try not to encourage clients to come in that particular season, that particular city, because also in the summer we have a lot of events. They organize all these giant events, and they take space, hotel spaces, cars, and they overlap with the regular couple, that just wants a beautiful day on the lake, and they can find rooms, or they can find cars. So that's this overlapping is not sustainable, and it's not beneficial to anybody.
What I'm getting there is the collaboration that's required. Julia mentioned challenging the sales and marketing team, and that directly relates to what you're saying, is highlight what the opportunities are outside of those peak periods, the month that you mentioned earlier, Julia. But just to shift it to Silvio, in terms of your client base, how do you think you, through your engagement with your guests, you can create a more socially responsible traveller to know that they can come here during the off-season, during the undiscovered season?
Andrew, I think we need to analyze better our kind of guest. And because we have certain of them, and then the communication, and also with our sales team all around the world, because we have certain guests, then of course they can maybe only come in the high season. Imagine a family with the 2 children going to the school. They have like vacation at the end of May, June, or July. So of course they may come on high season. But a couple maybe retire, or a very wealthy couple that without children, or a solo travelers, and that is a kind of tourist that I need to talk about and say, okay, you are a solo traveler, look a lot like me. Okay, I'm a gay solo traveler when I'm travel. What I always have to make to travel advisor is I want authentic experience. What I can do, and you say, like if you go to Cortina in August, it's better than, even because I'm not skiing, you can do amazing path, you can walk, you can talk with the little wood artisan. Or if I go in November in Venice, I love November in Venice. I actually been the first time in Venice when I was 18, was my first solo trip, and it was the week of Chiesa della Salute is open. I think it's the second week of November, and I fell in love with Venice. I try to go back even in like in May or end of April. It's a completely different scenario. When you come in November, you're out of the Santa Lucia gate, you have like this giant postcard in front of you. Wow. So for me was something great. I did it again in April and May. It's completely different, and so we need to talk in different way to all of our different guests. That I think that is super, super important. So they can help us to have guests for all over the year, but happy guests all over the year. Because I cannot force a family of 2 coming in December because they may not happy with what they found. But if I talk properly and I set the experience and to the proper guest, will be super, super easy and will be much happier than in a different season, or what we call the high season, that for us it was the best. Now we realize that every month, every week can be the best.
Following what you just said, if I can find one positive thing about COVID is that it promoted the flexible work arrangement. So there's a lot of people out there that now they have different setups in their work environment, so they can work remotely. And we just had, not too long ago, and I'm just bringing this example on the table, that the gentleman had a job that could be done on computer. So that he took his family on a trip in February, all over by us. And while he was working on and off, the family was just experiencing everything, going into, locals people's house, to enjoy like a slice of cheese. So we got to look into that market as well. That's what I'm saying. Things have changed. We got to adapt. And that's definitely one option to explore.
Yeah, and I think the onus is on us, Andrew, a lot as well as being in the sector. When we have the media calling us, when we have the travel advisor community reaching out, the first question is what's new? Mm-hmm. Every time, what's new? Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a big onus on us. There's also, on the public sector regarding any communication and marketing campaigns. Why are we not promoting? Why are we not showing these experiences? Why are we not telling the story? We all know that tourism is such a power in the world and just gives so much opportunity. So I see opportunity both from a sales, marketing, communications point of view on educating people how wonderful it is to travel outside the main months. But also, I think it's important for us to educate local people as well, the importance of tourism. What does tourism bring? I think many local people believe that if they don't work directly within the sector, then tourism is nothing to do with them and it's not a benefit to them. However, again, it's an amazing opportunity for us. And going back to my favorite tagline, it's all about the people. We've got to keep our people close. We've got to retain our people. What can we do for them? And how can we also continue to open opportunities in our sector for the people that we have today?
No, exactly. And that's not just people that you employ, but who you contract with and the local suppliers as well, I think are very important. Giulia, in terms of your line of work and where you focus on it and excel in, I want to focus a little bit on dispersal and how that can play a huge role in destination management. And want to know from you is, what can the public and private sectors do to ensure a better spread of tourism regionally? And what do you see as the key benefits of this approach? You've mentioned before that we need to collaborate further, but have you got some tangible examples there that you could share?
Yeah, as I said before, we tried in person to do something, and we tried to put on the ground a good business plan that works for the entire year. So we tried with different hotels. The first thing that we did is that we called the local DMCs, restaurants, people around, and we said, okay, guys, we need to do this. Are you going to be with us? Are you going to be opened in December? We did it with the Seaside Hotel. So it's not easy with the Seaside Hotel because there's kind of nothing to do, basically. That's what in people's mind, which is wrong, because there are a lot of things to do, even in winter time at the seaside. So what we did is we talked to the local DMCs and they said, well, yes, we can organize and think about things. We already have them, actually, and we can go with that. And that was the first point. Then we tried to talk to the public sector to see if there was a way that we could give better incentives to our people and team into the hotel to keep them all year long and to let them work in a different way. And then what we did is we put down numbers on a very good Excel file, And in the end, it came out that it was way more profitable to keep it open all year long. And then our sales team did a sort of conversation with all the DMCs and the locals and everyone, and started selling the right product, started selling what they will really find in December in the seaside. And it's something tangible, and it's working, and it worked, and it produces money. So if we, on a private sector side, of course, we are not looking for something that is not profitable, because this would be lying to ourselves, which we are entrepreneurs. But on the other side, we don't want to ruin with our job the fortune that we have around. So we have to be sustainable, we have to work together, and we have to create more moments like this, more moments like the ones that, for example, Andrea creates, to talk with our partners, with everyone around, and to share experiences. This is fundamental, and this is something that is worked in the past in some small examples with some hotels, and I'm sure that in a bigger scale it can work even better. So this is my...
I think, if I may, Andrew, just add one comment here. Something that's been hugely beneficial to me personally, and I know Vanis is now part of the same group, is joining an international entrepreneur group and experience sharing with entrepreneurs from other sectors. I learned so much from these people because they totally look at the world through different eyes. And I think, again, apart from obviously traveling the world and learning from our colleagues, learning from other industries for me has been fundamental.
Nice. And just...
Yeah, on the same note, she's absolutely right, because you're getting to talk to a lot of entrepreneurs on different fields, different sectors. And bottom line, we share more or less the same experiences. And when we talk about travel, they do feel like, they should travel. They find ways to, or countries where they can go in undiscovered season, as I like to call it, because they don't want to be, stressed out on their own vacation. They go on vacation once a year, maybe for a couple of weeks, if that. And they want to be relaxed, at their own pace. And, they always find different ways to go away. And I think already this gathering, this meeting it's a good starting point. We should have more of these.
And so this is a very private sector knowledge sharing experience. What addition or benefit could there be? I'm not saying there would be if there was a public sector representative there. So it can be a very open, collaborative discussion with those people to share them. Would that be beneficial?
Totally, 100%.
In what way?
I think just having an open conversation. At the end of the day, nobody can manage anything if they can't measure it. So, we need to be prepared coming to the table. We need data, which WTTC have always been incredibly helpful, and thank you for that one. But also, what is it like for people on the ground? What is it like for Silvio in his 2 hotels during the high season? What are the other opportunities out there? Again, it's down to education, Andrew. It's down to having those conversations. Because at the end of the day, we all don't know everything, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone's busy and we all have a lot of things to do. So let's make it simple. Let's get our data. Let's get some ideas. Let's offer some alternatives and, have that conversation.
Yeah, let's be open to discussion, because sometimes you get to work with some suppliers or different kinds of businesses, and they're so self-involved, so proud, or even sometimes, if I may say, old school, although I'm starting to get there probably. But we got to keep an open mind. The market has changed, people have changed, different interests, different environments. So we really need to have an open discussion and have a little less pride. Maybe I can learn from Andrea, from anybody else. Let's be humble.
Yeah.
Let's be humble.
Sharing best
And
practices.
that's something maybe that sometimes we lack, because...
But also, we have the possibility, again, thanks to you guys, Andrew, of introducing our public sector ministers to public sector ministers, to their colleagues from other countries in the world who've had success with projects. You know, we can always learn from others. And again, that is an opportunity that we could bring to the table with WTTC, you know, thanks to your guys' connections. And I think it would be huge.
So just shifting back now in terms of dispersal, and Andrea, given IC Bellagio are a leader here in Italy in terms of the DMC market, it'd be great to hear from you what are the key characteristics that dispersal can play with solving the overcrowding problem and creating a more community-conscious tourism product.
Okay, thanks, Andrew, for that question, one of my favourites. So we have 2 points on this. So dividing first in the areas that people know. Let's call them primary destinations to make it easy for us. What we have tried to do is look at all of our product, the tours, the experiences that we offer our guests. How can we do them differently? For example, here on Lake Como, we love to take people out on the lake at sunrise, and they are the only people out there on the lake. The lake is so flat, it's beautiful. You get to see the sun rising, you get to see the fishermen. We obviously go somewhere for a beautiful breakfast, and they come back and they're ready to start the day. And that is an exclusive experience. You know, down on the Amalfi Coast, one of my personal favorite experiences that we sell is a day on the yacht to Capri. And we very quickly learned that if we continue to follow the same thing that we'd always done, which was leaving the Amalfi Coast at 9:30, cruising along the coast, stopping for a lovely lunch, crossing the Bay of Naples with the dolphins, going around the island of Capri and arriving there at, let's say, 2 p.m, we were basically adding to the crowds by taking our people, and the experience obviously was not so great. So what we do now is we chat to our guests and we say, guys, you're on holiday, you're on vacation. Why do you need to get up so early? Have a leisurely breakfast, enjoy the morning in the town where you're staying. Let's leave just before lunch, go have a beautiful lunch on the coast, go through the Bay of Naples, enjoy all of the grottos around the island. We'll get you to Capri at 4:30 in the afternoon when all of the day trippers have left. You have your 2-3 hours on Capri. You're the only people there with the locals and the folks who are staying there, which obviously the island can very easily manage. And as you are returning to the Amalfi Coast, you have the sunset. I mean, it's absolutely magical. So we try to put a positive spin on the tour experiences quite simply just by changing the time. And that is one thing to do. Another thing is, you know, let's say Tuscany is a region, one of our favorites. We don't have to all go to the same places. We always, you know, many people talk about Siena, San Gimignano, beautiful places, but there's so many more beautiful places out there where you will literally, Lucignano, you literally walk through the streets at 10 a.m. in the morning and the only people you're going to meet are the locals. And that is the experience people are looking for. Then if we pass to the secondary destinations, as we discussed earlier, in Italy we have 20 regions. We sell a lot of 14 of them. There's 6 regions that we sell very, very little of. And what we are doing as a company right now is going to those regions and seeing how can we develop them, speaking with the hotels, speaking with the supplier partners on the ground, speaking to the local people and also the public sector regarding the power of tourism, the opportunities of tourism, and looking at how we can work with them on developing tourism in their regions in a sustainable way.
Nice. No, thank you. That's a great example of dispersal by knowing when peaks are happening and managing the flow for your guests to have that best experience. And Silvio, just wrapping up in terms of any solutions from your perspective to resolve or to help manage the flow of tourism overcrowding or community conscious tourism.
I will take our lake region as an example, is start to think in completely out of the box. So try selling the lake like without the lake. So selling Lake Como as a part of their trip, even if they stay, a week with us, but given the possibility to visit the north of Valtellina, so like Bormio town with the thermal bath, and doing all the path all on our mountains and the horse riding. So just give us the possibility to do something completely different, so they can still, of course, they can say that they're being to the Lake Como and they can stay by the lake, but at the same time they can experience something completely different. So the Lake Como, it will become just like the camp base of their weeks here on the region, but then they can experience something completely different. As we say before, we are testing this amazing wine. Then the grapes that actually grow here in Bellagio. It's something that it just started 10 years ago. Valtellina, that is only an hour from north from Bellagio. It started the wine culture like by the Romanic Empire. No one knows that in Valtellina we produce amazing wine. So why we cannot say to all part of our client, come in December, come in January, come in February, try to sell the first week of February on Lake Como. Like 20 years ago was impossible. 20 years ago, the communication was trying to sell, 5-6 months on the very peak season. It was already enough. Now we are here thinking how to sell the first week of February. It's something extraordinary for our region, also in terms of economy, because we know that we can grow all together. But to do this, we really need to think out of the box and to try always to sell the best of where we are. So
and we have all the tools to do that now. With the social media, we can analyze all the data to the age, the demographics. So why not do that? Why do we have to come during Fashion Week in Milan? If you're not interested in fashion, just stay away from Milan, or that particular day or week, you just go somewhere else. Why do you have to come to stay in Rome when you have the Giro d'Italia, the bicycle race, when you know that all the streets are going to be closed down and you're going to have issues and trouble in getting from where you need to go? Maybe if you're already there, just go to a different town. Don't stay in town. There are so many examples that could bring up. Like, for example, at the Amalfi Coast, talking about government, in peak season, the Sorrento area, which we all know it's a very small area, very secluded, very hard to get to, they close down traffic to pretty much all of us unless we pay. So now, how am I going to go and explain that to our tourists, that I'm going to have to charge you more just to take you and enjoy a beautiful day in Positano and Sorrento just because they charge me. And I cannot even wait for you. I have to leave. I have to go back, maybe switch a driver. And I'm speaking from this business point of view. But these are all impediments that we have to face during high season. And they reverse eventually onto the client, which is something that we all hate. And the client, the thing is, they can't understand that because it does sound ridiculous. But we have no way around it.
And what Silvia was saying there relates to, Vannes, what you were mentioning earlier around just the undiscoverable period.
Undiscovered season. Yeah.
Undiscover those gems that we don't know about just yet. And with that in mind, just shifting the conversation to now actions. And Julia, let's turn our attention to those actions that need to be implemented in terms of an individual, business and government perspective. What tangible steps do you think need to be taken to support what we've already discussed here today?
Government tables are the first step, together with the work that we can do behind, and that we do it every day in our hotels, in our companies. But going to talk in the right direction, bringing the good examples, the best practices that we are learning and that we learn with other entrepreneurs, sharing all our opinions and going there with right numbers that, as Andrea said, are very kindly shared also by you from WTTC. But we can go there with the right idea and say, guys, this is what needs to be done on our point of view. And we are on the ground, so we are able to share, I think, the best opinion. And then the second thing that we can do is to create, as we were saying, a great campaign that talks about all the hidden gems of Italy, all the unknown places, all the not known things. There was a nice conversation, and I had a nice conversation in Florence last week, and some travel agents asked me, but what is Florence without the Uffizi Museum? And I was like this, and I said, okay, just do you have 2 hours? Do you have 2 hours to listen to me? and I give you the entire list of what is Florence without a museum, what is Florence without the Ponte Vecchio. It's also that thing. My personal opinion is that everyone to go into the right action and right direction has to do his own step to make it work. The travel agent has to sell it properly. We have to give them the right informations on the territory. We have to work in the right direction to make things happen, because when tourists come, they want to do, they want to see, they want to fall in love with their maybe different ideas that they have in their mind. So we have to be honest with the tourists. We have to give them what we really have, and we have to make them, again, fall in love with the destination in different seasons. And then word of mouth will do the rest. Because if Italy is so big right now, it's for ages and ages of history that brought it so up, and for entrepreneurs that went there and said, okay, Italy is the one. We're going to communicate it in the right way. So that's why Italy is now one of the biggest destinations in the world. So, and that's why we can be considered a brand in terms of sales and marketing. So to go back on the ground, let's put all the things together: laws, good actions, territory, locals, sustainability, the right money, incentives from the state are important. We're not going to lie to ourselves. Again, we need money to do certain type of things. And then when everything is set up, we're going to be a better product in the market. And we're going to be that product that can be all year long loved by the entire community in the world.
Can I just say one thing, Andrew? So, Julie, I just wanted to add to Julie's, I think 2 words are so fundamental here, and it's don't presume. So we can't presume the travel advisor knows Italy. You know, I always say I have the easy part. I have the easy job. I sell one country. You know, you guys have to sell the entire world. And also don't presume when we're speaking with the public sector. You know, we know so well what we're talking about. You know, for them, quite possibly, it's a completely new world. And I think we have to take a step back and, you know, just keep those 2 words in mind. Don't presume, make it simple, make it easy, and let's not try to go too fast. Let's go step by step and just be very, very clear with what we're asking and, you know, in what order we're asking.
So be clear and concise. Vanis?
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's a great point. And to follow up on that, we should be more united, people in our industry, to come up with a game plan, because like she said, Andrea said, I mean, we can't presume that they know what we're talking about. So let's bring a game plan on the table to our government. You know, we all need to be united, because we're in this industry, we tend to be a little divided in that sense. So we all follow our own paths, but we don't cross ideas, you know, we don't share ideas. And if we can do this, and that's why I think this is a great example of what needs to be done. If we can do this, we're all united and we have one big voice instead of like a million, thousands maybe of voices, you know, that everybody steers in their own direction. We got to pull Italy in one direction only, and we got to be all united.
All on the same boat, rowing in the same direction at the same speed.
Just before we move on to the next question, are there any other tangible actions that we think can help resolve or mediate the issue of overcrowding?
Yeah, I would also, Andrew, I would love somehow us to be able to deliver to our public sector. Also, you know, the contacts for community economic development companies. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been in 4 conversations just in the last week with the public sector. And it's, you know, what do we do? Where do we even start? And right now I feel like it's just putting, what I say, Band-Aids, you know, putting plasters on little problems instead of looking at, but, you know, they need direction. You know, as we mentioned earlier, everyone has their own expertise. And so we can't really expect these guys, you know, to know how to perhaps solve this problem, because they also have other things to do. But, you know, giving exposure, talking about the fact that these companies do exist. And I know you guys can help with that, WTTC, because I do feel that, again, they could bring definitely some positivity to the table and get us on the right track.
If you put together all the professionals in Italy that are great in data, great in administration, great in sales, great in marketing, and you put together this and you give a good action plan to the public sector.
The great example is a sustainable environment, let's say. You know, they all force us and push us in being more sustainable, but they don't ask us how to be practical in the sustainability, because in all fields, all different sectors, you know, we all have different issues to become sustainable. But then again, don't pursue a line without knowing what's around it. Listen to your fellow Italian citizens that are actually in the industry, that have been long enough around enough to give you ideas. You know, we got to be more humble, as we said before. You know,
We've spoken a lot about the need to support visitors, especially those that travel outside of what is currently deemed the peak season. But how do we ensure that the infrastructure and workforce is there to support them when they do travel in December, January, February? How can we do that in a lovely place like Bellagio?
Well, for first, we have to start changing a little bit our language. So not big, not low, as Andrea was saying. I really love the idea of slow season, because it's very positive and gives us the idea of having one big season of the same product. To give the same experience to the travelers, it's quite difficult. We can give something similar in the different points of the year, but what we can do is to try to find different attractions and different experiences through all the local DMCs and all the people around, to see, okay, maybe there are some activities that are closed in summertime and open in wintertime, for example. Some beautiful experiences that you wouldn't do, for example, in August in Bellagio, you would do them in December. So let's try to find those little things and see how we can give a similar service, which doesn't mean worst or better. It's just a different kind of service. And on my personal point of view, doing what some hoteliers that we work with more than 61 hotels in Italy. Some are little chains, some are independent, and we have asked them to share some best practices. And what they said is that they're trying to put the ideas together in order to send their tourists into the different regions that don't have the possibilities to have a proper sales team that sells the destination. So, for example, they collaborate with hotels in different regions. For example, Marche, which is in marketing and communication less strong than Tuscany, for example. So it's a kind of a secondary destination. They did a joint venture with this Florentine hotel, and the sales team of the Florentine hotel also sells Marche in summertime for the seaside, which is not common. I mean, you just share cost of the sales team, and you go around and you sell this different, and they're not from the same chain.
So Andrea, thank you, Julia. Shifting it to yourself now in terms of the labour force and keeping folks engaged during the non-peak season. What's your perspective on that? How can we get there? What are tangible actions that we can put in place for that?
Okay, so Andrea, first of all, talking about people, my dream is that we start to teach the opportunities and the power of tourism in schools. This is a huge goal for me, because I think so many people have no idea what we do and what tourism can do for the world and all of the opportunities out there. Both myself and I know also Silvio, we actually teach as guest professors in universities throughout Italy, and also for myself in the US. Just really trying to inspire people and explaining the opportunities that tourism brings to them. Also, I would love to see a huge focus, especially in Italy, on keeping people and the importance of people, our team. I mean, if we don't have our people, we have nothing. And I think we need to look at how we retain them, how we can take care of them more, and ask for public support for this as well, not just from a fiscal point of view, but in general. There's an opportunity for sure there. Regarding our supplier partners and hoteliers across the country, one thing which was initially hugely shocking to me after COVID, during the pandemic, so many people were saying, you've got to help me. What can we do? Look for an initiative. I need to find a way to make some money. And then at the end of last year at our meeting, when we were talking about developing slow season, I had some pushback from the guides, from the drivers, from the captains, etc., and the cooks saying, hey lady, you can't think that I'm working all of these hours, 7 days a week, all season long, and then think I can continue doing this 12 months of the year. So that is also something we've definitely got to look at. How do we manage that? And we have to manage it correctly, because happy people on the ground is making for sure the happy experience for the people who are coming to visit us.
Thank you. And Vanessa, is your perspective on keeping workforce engaged and making sure that they can work during that time? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's an ongoing issue actually for us. So maybe, because like I said at the beginning, we get the end stretch of the itinerary of the journey. So we kind of forced to having to handle and manage the situation that's being sold by others. So there's not much that we can do about it. But what we can do is advise maybe to spread out the season a little longer, in the sense that, for example, already after COVID, we lost a good portion, probably 82% of the corporate business that used to travel all year round. And whereas maybe in peak season, it was a little, as we say, annoying, because, you have to deal with when you have the tourist that goes away for a whole day. But during the undiscovered season, like I like to say, it was, putting money on the table. Now we lost that, okay? So now what we do is we're concentrating work on labor. We have over 170 partners, beautiful partners all over the country, but they work 6 months, 7 months out of the year, they're exhausted. And then, of course, they have to take some time off. But then, comes December, they struggle to keep it going, because we got to wait till March next year. So when you compact the labor during just a certain amount of months, you lose professionalism, because you're forced to hire people that are not trained, they're not educated to do that particular job. And I'm just talking about hours, just to fill in, because you need to do that. And in off season, those particular people, they end up, stopping doing what they're doing and, become a painter or a carpenter. That's not what we're talking about. That's not quality. We need to have, the right labor, the right agents, the right hotel managers, to all year round, so we can better, again, strategize everything. So let's spread out season. The little things can be done on our part, but we need help also
through clear and concise marketing and sales campaigns, but also sharing best practice between public and private partnership. This now conclude the conversation here. And WTTC, we released our latest economic impact numbers earlier this year, and they show that across the next 10 years, the travel and tourism sector on a global basis, we're going to outpace global GDP growth. In fact, we're going to double it each and every year for the next 10 years. So that's going to provide a lot of challenges, but also the conversation we've had here is a lot of solutions that we can drive forward with. Silvio, for your concluding comments on tourism overcrowding, potential solutions and actions, what would you like to leave as your sort of lasting talking point here today?
So actually, I would love to be back in 3, 4, 5 years and say that everything is already changed, and I will be able to visit Bellagio in February, or an amazing New Year's Eve in Venice or in Positano. That will be for sure my dreams. I would love even to see our properties all around Italy open 12 months per year, and having more happy people around. And I think will be super nice to see more round table like this one, and try to have Italy or the rest of the world a better world, also in big terms of sustainability and super less pollution. We are super lucky today to be outside with an amazing garden, nice sky, the blue of the lake. We need to keep everything like this. On the next 10 years, we need to grow on tourism, but we need also to preserve our country and our world. That's, I think, super crucial. If people comes to Italy, it's because it's La Bella Italia. We need to keep it beautiful how it is at it was.
Fantastic. Julia, what are your concluding thoughts in terms of the conversation today?
Well, I completely agree with what Silvio already said. If I have to add something, I will. What this leaves me is a lot of positivity. There's a lot of work to do. One thing that I understood from my colleagues and understood in the past years of work is that if we don't do it together, it's not going to happen. And again, it's tough, but if we do little steps and we go in the right direction and the direction is clear and is shared, I'm sure that in 5-10 years, we're going to have a different scenario in front of our eyes, and we're going to be in a better touristic field. So I'm sure that if we put all the best practice in the same on the same line and we do them all together, we cannot make mistakes. We're the country of creatives. We are the country of fashion. We are the country of wine and all these beauties that you see around. This Rome wasn't built in a day, so this will not be done in a day. But it's the best thing is that it takes time. So we have time to make it better. So
fantastic. I like that saying. Vanessa, what are your concluding thoughts?
Like we said before, I think we really need to do it all together. I mean, that would be my first game plan. Let's really, put all the words aside. Let's finish up this year and let's start fresh, at the end of the season, but with a nice game plan. Okay, let's put all our ideas together. WTTC can definitely help us analyzing all the data, strategies and everything. Bring everyone together. And because if we speak the same language, even to the clients, then we can pursue and portray a different country, and we can steer the market in a different direction instead of like always, absorbing it, having to handle. Let's manage it. Don't manage it. So let's, jump ahead for already from next year. Let's put all our minds together, not just here in the country. Thank you for this. And let's push it forward because things are changing, and we don't want to destroy this beautiful country because we don't want that. So
I think that's a great summary there. And for last but not least, Andrea, what are your final thoughts?
Don't presume. Educate earlier and better. Communicate better. Don't stop believing. Stay positive. And never forget, it's all about the people.
Okay, thank you. Don't stop believing. It's a journey, and we'll get there. So thank you for hosting us here in lovely Bellagio and sharing the Italian perspective of tourism overcrowding or community conscious tourism. Cheers.